What's going on, guys? Leon Bratt here, and in this video I'm going to teach you two things. Number one is how to set up your DAW so you can send the audio to Streamlabs or OBS with a very low latency. And number two is how to send that perfectly clear audio from your DAW into things like Discord, TeamSpeak, Zoom, that kind of thing. This works for any DAW that you want to use. For me personally, I use Ableton, but you can use, say, FL Studio, Reaper, Cubase, etc. It works for any DAW. For me, being a musician who uses a loop pedal, I really needed a method that was going to give me extremely low latency from my DAW. I have tried multiple different ways of trying to get this to work with low latency, and this method is really the only one that actually works. But before we get into the video, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Owned Pro. If you're a live streamer who uses OBS and likes to keep things fresh and change your stream design often, then Owned Pro is for you. With Owned Pro, it's super easy to change overlays and alerts within just a couple of clicks. The only thing you have to do is choose your desired design and click Install. You already have access to some free packs, but if you want to choose from any of the 400 plus packs at any time, it'll just cost you a small fee every month. Owned Pro has a brand new dashboard, making everything super easy to navigate, and many of the overlay packs now come in multiple languages. All you need to do is follow the link down in the description below this video and try out Owned Pro today. Alright, back to the video. So the first thing we're going to have to do is come over to reaper.fm/ReaPlugs. Streamlabs and OBS can use VST2 plugins, which makes it super easy for this method. But the only thing is Streamlabs and OBS, they search in hard-coded locations. So what does that mean? Basically, all that means is that we need to save ReaPlugs into your C drive or the default destination folder. All we're going to have to do is click on download ReaPlugs. For me, I'm going to download the 64-bit version. Once that's downloaded, you can go ahead and click install. You're going to have loads of different plugins here. The one we're interested in is ReaStream, but I would just install all of them. You might as well. So click next, and when it gets to this page here, it's going to say destination folder. Save this in the C drive. Make sure this is C, program files, and then VST plugins. Just make sure it's in this directory here, and then click on install. I'm not going to install it because I've already installed it, but once you've installed it, all you need to do then is load up your DAW. Okay, so we're into Ableton now. Do you know what? Let me just move my camera over a little bit so you can actually see what's going on there. And all we're going to have to do is come over to the master track, and this is going to be exactly the same for any DAW. You're going to find your master track, click on that, and you're going to add a VST plugin. You can see down here, I've actually got ReaStream here, but if we just go over to plugins, VST, ReaPlugs, and then we're going to have the ReaStream standalone. ReaStream standalone. So drag that over, and this should pop up here. What we're going to then do is just click on send audio, change this to local broadcast. So the next thing you want to do is come over to Streamlabs, and you can see that I've got an Ableton source just here. I'm recording this in Streamlabs, and if you have a look over in Ableton, just behind Streamlabs, you can see this is my microphone input here. And you can see that it's picking that up in my Ableton source just here. But how do we add this in? Well, if you click on the plus icon in sources and you want to select audio input capture, add source, and I'm going to create a new source. I'm going to call this DAW, just so I don't get confused. DAW, add source, and then the device. Now, this is where we want to add in a device that we're not actually using, okay? So for me, I've got a couple of voice meter outputs here. I could use any of these input 5 or 6, 7 or 8, but I'm just gonna use one of the voice meters that I'm not using. Click done. Here we go. Now we've got DAW just in here. Still got the Ableton one here. We're gonna forget about that. We've got DAW just here. So if we click on DAW, right click and go filters, then we're going to click on the plus icon, click on VST2 plugin, click done. And now we're going to come down and select ReaStream standalone. So let's just double check. Yep, ReaStream standalone. Click on this one here. And click done. Now you can see that we've got both of these working at the moment. I'm just going to mute that one for a second because I'm not listening to this audio. That might have sounded terrible. Let's just come back over to the filters for a second. and click on Open Plugin Interface, which is actually behind here. And then we're going to receive audio, and that's it. That's all sorted. So now this should be working perfectly fine. I've just taken off the Ableton, I've just muted that, and now the DAW is working perfectly here. If I play some music from Ableton, you should be able to hear this perfectly. So there we go, it literally is as simple as that to get your DAW working with Streamlabs or OBS. This way gives you the lowest latency I could find in a method, and this works perfectly for me. Just make sure your Ableton is sending the audio from the master bus, and make sure that Streamlabs is clicked on receiving audio. That's it. Now, if you haven't got a spare input that you can use, let's jump back onto the PC. I'm just going to show you a quick way around that, so you could use your microphone, but in a different way. So let's just jump back onto the PC, and I'll show you. Go to Filters, and what you could do is click on the plus icon, get a gain in there, bring the gain all the way down, put the gain in first place. So this could be like your main microphone that you're using. Bring the gain all the way down, and then you want to put the second plugin as the ReaStream plugin. That would be a way around that if you didn't have a spare input to use. But if you do have a spare input to use, I would use that. So I just want to run over a few different things on Ableton which you can do to really decrease your latency. So if we just go over to Ableton again, let's load this back up quick. For me, I'm using my audio interface as an Audient ID14 audio interface. I'm using an ASIO buffer size of 128 samples at the moment. You can use 64, you can use 256, I'm using 128. This just works best for me with my latency, and my sample rate I'm using is a 44.1 kilohertz on my sample rate. Whatever you do with your sample rate, just make sure it matches up in Streamlabs. So if we come over to the settings, click on audio, make sure that this sample rate matches up just here. Okay, so back over to Ableton again, and sometimes people go over to the options and come down to preferences. And now you can see that my latency is 4.4 milliseconds. This is really low. Sorry, 8.89 milliseconds. This is super low. Some people use the driver error compensation. I wouldn't recommend doing this. It just makes things worse. That's what I found anyway. I wouldn't use this. Just leave this as 0 and play around with the buffer size for your actual audio interface. For me personally, if I just move my camera over again, so if I come over to the bottom right, I know you can't see this, I've got a little border over it at the moment, but I click on that, and this is my audio interface. I click on this, right click here, I've got my ASIO buffer size as 128 samples, and my sample rate as 44.1. I can change to whatever I need to change to. This is just what's working best for me. Your PC build will work different for you. Just bear in mind that I have got a pretty high-end build PC. However, this should work with no problems on a lower budget build PC. The next thing you can do to minimize your latency is go to options again. You can click on reduced latency when monitoring. This just works a tiny little bit better for me. That's what I do. And also over here in the monitoring section, never use auto, always use in. It just makes it a little less latency dependent. This is what's working for me. Like I said, I'm a loop pedal artist, so I need that super low latency. This is working for me. No problem at all. Absolutely no problem at all. Okay, now for the second step of this video, we're now going to run through how to send all of your DAW audio into things like Discord, Zoom, TeamSpeak, etc. Very simple, actually. It's very simple. Very simple. All right, let's jump back onto the PC and let's get this done. So we're going to come over to vb-audio.com/cable, and we are going to download these cables here, these free cables. Basically, what this does is installs a bunch of virtual audio input and output interfaces, which internally connect to each other inside of the PC. I know it sounds complicated, but it's really not. So we're going to click on download here. Once you've got that downloaded, just get it installed. It's very simple. Just go through the zips, and yeah, I've already installed it, so I don't need to reinstall it. And then after you've got that installed, what we're going to have to do then is come over to Streamlabs or OBS, and then you're going to click on your mixer. You're going to open Advanced Audio Settings. And then what you're going to do is come over to the DAW, which is what we've just set up. And with the monitoring or the audio monitoring, click on this. This will be set to monitor off as a default. You're going to click on monitor and output. Okay, monitor and output. And that's it for that. And then you want to come over to the actual settings for Streamlabs or OBS and click on advanced, and then your monitoring device, audio monitoring device. And what we're going to do here is click on cable input. You can see this is VB audio virtual cable. That will be automatically installed. Well, once you've installed it, it will automatically show up here. And then click on that, cable input, then click done. And we're going to use Discord for this one. So your input device will be as your usual microphone. You can see this is already triggering the microphone as I'm talking. However, if we go to, you know what, let me play this music, and you'll be able to see if this is coming up or not. So this isn't working at the moment, but if we click on input device, change this to cable output, you can now see that the music is being triggered in here. Just like that. Okay, so that is as simple as that. That is it. That is it. That's it. One last thing that I would say about running a DAW with Streamlabs or OBS is to load up your DAWs first, and load up any games that you're going to be playing on stream first as well. Say if you're going to be playing marbles on stream, I would load that up first and then run Streamlabs or OBS as administrator. Doing this just puts it right at the top of the queue in order of processes, and that's what's fixed some of my problems. I did run into a problem where I was streaming for like 4, 5, 6 hours, then I loaded up marbles on stream and my microphone went. Like, it just went. I sounded like a robot. I couldn't hear the problem, but my viewers did hear the problem. So that's the thing that's fixed that for me at the moment, is running Streamlabs or OBS as admin. To do this, all you need to do is right click on Streamlabs or OBS when you're opening it up and click run as administrator. And yeah, that seemed to fix the problem. So yeah, there we go. There we go. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy that and it did help you out, then please do smash that thumbs up button as hard as you can. Subscribe down below as well for more videos like this every single week. Don't forget, I stream on Twitch every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Be nice to have you over there in the community. And if you want to join the Discord, all the links to everything is below the video. Don't forget about Owned Pro as well. Links to that down below, and links to everything mentioned in this video. All the links are in the description, okay? All the links to everything mentioned in this video are in the description. And I'll see you next week for the next video. Stay safe. I love you. Peace out.